Hey, what's up, everyone? Well, I'm headed down to the lake. I'm gonna go goof around for a little bit and then do some glassing again at dark. It's like 98 degrees, so it's probably a pretty stupid idea, but I got a new trolling motor set up to try on the kayak tonight, and that's kind of important for deer season, for getting across the lake different times. So I'm pretty excited to try that out, and you know, if I see some deer too, great. So we'll see what happens. This is gonna be the last time I can probably get down there this week, so we'll see if I can find Mr. Goliath or any of those other nice shooters here in the bean fields tonight, see where they're coming from, try to get a little bit more of a pattern on them. So that's what I'm headed down to do. See what happens. So there's another crazy idea that I had too. The area that we got pictures of Goliath, it's a narrow strip of public, and it's got a creek on one side and the road on the other. The creek runs all the way out through private land to the main road, and ideally I would prefer to use the creek as access, because the creek runs right through the thickest part of the woodlot that's on private and public. But the problem is there's no public access to that creek. Now, I did some research in the state of Ohio. Any navigable waterway is open to public use. So as long as there's enough water in it to sustain a boat, you know, i.e. my kayak, I can use the waterway. But I'm not allowed to touch the creek bottom or the banks where the private land is, otherwise it's trespassing. So that left me with a little dilemma, and I'll tell you how important it is that I use this creek to get in. These deer are bedding in probably a 3-acre marsh, and so if I can use this creek to get in, I can get right in on the beds without being noticed, because I can pop right up on the bank, get up in the first tree I come to, and I'll be in prime position to hunt a bedding area opening day. So honestly, with the amount of buck traffic that I'm seeing in this spot, it wouldn't surprise me if I see some bucks opening morning if I can use this creek. So I've been studying this map and using what knowledge I have of the area to try to come up with some idea. I did talk to a DNR officer about the waterway. He did say, hey, yes, you can use the water. You cannot touch the banks where it's private. If the water is accessible from a public road, you can come off the road directly into the water. So now I'm thinking, how do I get into the water without touching the private land? So my idea is to use the bridge. There's a public bridge over the creek. I went to Menards last night and bought a rope ladder that's, I think, 8 or 10 feet long. And I'm gonna try to lower my kayak onto the creek and use the rope ladder to lower myself and my gear into the kayak. So this really pumps me up just because it's like a completely out of the box idea. And of course, if I get back in there and I shoot a buck, I can drag it right out to the road, no problem, through the public land. It's not like it's landlocked, but using the water to get in would be such an advantage. So it's worth it to me. I kept the receipt, by the way, for the ladder, just in case it doesn't work, but it's worth it to me to give it a try. I mean, why not? I don't see any legal issues with doing that. I am exiting a public road and entering a public waterway without touching any private land. So as long as there's enough water in that creek, that might be my ticket. So I'm gonna mess around with that tonight too, just see if it's possible, and if it is, that's what I will be doing opening morning. I will be maybe even staging my kayak the night before, you know, just tethering it to the bridge and letting it sit in the creek. And then I can even set up the ladder probably too the night before, make it quick and easy to get in, and have everything ready to go, so that opening morning, boom, I just lower myself down into the kayak, paddle upstream a little bit, pop up into a tree, and we're killing it daylight, you know. So I don't know, it's a pretty cool idea. We'll see what happens, but I'll try to bring you updates as I go throughout the evening. Again, shenanigans is probably the best term I could use to describe my evening here from now until dark. So I don't know, no guarantees that there's going to be anything exciting, but shenanigans are fun. So stay tuned with me. I'll bring you some updates as I go. Well, we're official now. I have a lapel mic, so I'm curious to see the difference in the audio. Hopefully it helps, because it costs money. I don't like spending money on things that don't help. But I'm at the spot I like to watch, the crossing where they come out of the corn into the beans. I had one small buck come by so far, and it's still pretty early. It's 7:30. So we'll see what comes out here before dark. So I'd like to get one of those big boys on camera. That'd be nice. Nice night. Super warm though, so I'm not expecting much early movement. We'll see. Well, the rest of the evening proved to be very uneventful. Again, it was so hot, nothing was moving. The neighbors were riding their four-wheelers over by where I thought the deer were going to come from. So I decided to go do one last lap around 8 o'clock before it got too dark to see into all the fields. And boy, am I glad I did. I drove past the bridge, turned around, came back, glanced down towards where my trail camera is across private land, and here comes Goliath. Goliath is on his way. So I was just cruising the roads here. He came right out of the woodlot where I want to put the stand on the public land. He's making his way to the bean field right now, crossing a big empty field. I'm gonna try to turn around real quick and try to get a little video of him when he comes across the road. So I'm keeping a log of this deer. Basically, I just took a screen capture of this area, kind of his home range, what I would assume it would be, off of the Onyx maps, and kind of built a one-page like report or activity log with a place to take notes. And so every time I come down and spot them or whatever, I'm going to mark it on the map, show the direction of travel. Whenever I get back into better cell service, I'll pull up Weather Underground and also record the details about the conditions with the wind, which it feels like there's almost none, but moon phase, things like that. And then, so the more I get down here to see him, the more I can kind of pattern him and get a better idea of why he's doing what he's doing. So the first time I saw him, he was in this field ahead of me in the beans, and I'm assuming he came from the corn, because I didn't have pictures of him that night on the camera, Because if he comes out of the public land, there's like a 70% chance that he goes in front of the camera. So tonight he came out of the public land right by the camera, came across a big dead field, across the road into the beans. So if opening day, the conditions are just the same, he hit that field with shooting light, which means he was in that wood lot moving within shooting light. It was borderline though, so that kind of tells me that maybe I need to scooch back in further, which makes this water entry approach an even better idea, because I can slip back in a little bit further on him, get tighter into his bed. I'm assuming he's back in there, bedded in that marsh when he is in there. The marsh is actually engineer corps land. It's not huntable. So my guess is there's not any foot traffic through there, and there's not any human scent going through there. So if I had to guess, judging by what I do know about mature bucks, that's probably where he's bedded during the day, when he's in there. So I'm pretty excited. Man, every time I've come down here to glass him, I've seen him in daylight. So I'm optimistic, but I'm not going to get my hopes up because he's this big for a reason. So I'm going to have to really watch the wind. I have to be very careful about my entry and exit. I want him to have no idea I am there. But the awesome thing is, I feel like opening day I'm going to be able to catch him when he's patternable. He's still on this summer feeding pattern. And just surprise the shit out of him. So we'll see what happens. I'm pretty pumped. This thing is awesome. This is definitely the deer getter from now on. It's nice and quiet. I'm gonna definitely have to counterbalance it, but I'm already almost all the way across the lake. This thing scoots pretty dang good. It turns decent. Not bad. I am pumped. Totally worth not sleeping at all last night. This has been great. Saw Goliath tonight. He came past my trail camera, I know he did. Fixed a quick wiring issue with the trolling motor. It's scooting along really well. Last thing I gotta check on now that hopefully Goliath has moved out into that field is my rope ladder theory on the way out. And then it will be a very successful night. I am pretty pumped. So I'm just gonna motor this thing back in, load her up, and get on out of here. Woo! I'm flying. It's nice and quiet too, I love it. Wow.